Um, Thank you for the most concise and cogent introduction I've ever had. What's good? How are we? My name is Sam. It's 9 p.m. and I had an entire Coke myself, and I'm wearing my loudest jacket, so this is about to get really weird. In fact, it's too loud for me. I'll probably see when that ends, and I'll have to take the jacket off. Hopefully to applause. Cute. I had a speech impediment growing up. Did anyone else? A few. Oh, no, I was about to start, but first of all, thank you, Button, for having me out. The slam was mostly really, really, really awesome. It was great to be here. Okay, so now my first poem. I'm going to do 2 or 3 poems from memory, and the rest will be on paper. Cute? All right. So I had a lisp growing up, and I was sent to a speech pathologist to sort of train it out. And so this poem is modeled on the scansion forms we had to fill out in order to train the lisp out of us. This make sense? Okay. It's called Lisp. There are more S's in possession than I remembered. My name hinges on the S, is serpentine, has sibilance, is simple, 6-lettered, a symbol, different from its sign. Sound shapes how we think about objects. The mouth shapes how sound spills out, how the speaker's seen. Astigmatism is the homosexual mystique. My parents sought treatments. I was sent to a speech pathologist, 6th grade. I was schooled, practiced silence, syllabics, syntax. My voice sap in the high branches. My voice a spoonful of sugared semen. I licked silk when I spoke. I spilt milk when I sang. When I sang, sick men tore wings from city birds, so I straightened my sound into a masculine I. The S is derived from the Semitic letter shin, meaning my swishiness is Hebraic, is inherited, it's semantic. No matter what was sacrificed, the tongued Isaac, a son against the stone of my soft palate, still I slipped my hands into my neighbor's waistband and pulled back pincers. Sisyphus with the sissiest lips. Parcel-tongued assassin. Sassy and passing for the poisoned sea. Now, when I say, please, can I suck your cock? I sound straight. As the still second hand on a dead watch. Well, thank you. Cool. It's great to be back in Minneapolis, one of my most favorite cities for a good 6 months out of the year, after you've all thawed from your collective trauma. St. Paul, my fault, the cities. They're both in the heart, equal chambers. Okay, so I've been writing these spells for each member of this current presidential cabinet. This is the newest one. I don't know if I've read it out yet. It's for Scott Pruitt. Cool. Yeah, he's cute. There's going to be a moment of collective speech where we're all going to spell something together, so just be prepared for it. And we'll see how this one goes. It's called For Scott Pruitt, and it begins with a quote from the Bible. Heard of it? Popular queer literature. It's called, and it goes, woe unto those who legislate evil. Isaiah someone. Okay. After all my schooling and standardized tests, after my ethics classes and lectures on cultural relativism, after my pretended affections for the French deconstructionists, and the realization we're all obliged to our histories, to the circumstance of our rearing, how harm begets more harm, and is rarely, if ever, produced in a vacuum, out from nothing, that hurt people, and blah, blah, blah. After all that comes you. Constituent of pure evil, possessed second-hand sock puppet, man-thing in a deviled egg suit, using public monies to poison a public trust. You, sir, are a condemned swimming pool full of scorpion cum. You're every forgotten cartoon villain, hoggish greedly, loot and plunder, venomous scum, who are all Captain Planet villains. You smile and 1,000 blackbirds plummet from the sky in fear at once. Even mosquitoes flee when you appear. Even dandelions gag. Even mirrors offer their deepest condolences. Your face, after all, is just a cheap plastic replica of a face, produced in a factory with no checks on emissions, with horrible labor conditions. You are an asbestos hand job with a methane grin. You're a translucent factory farmed pig jizz. There isn't language enough to drag you through the hells you're making now on Earth. Even the most terrible words won't do, so we bind you, Scott Pruitt, from doing harm unto others and harm against the world. Everyone, we bind you, Scott Pruitt, from doing harm unto others and harm against the world. One more time. We bind you, Scott Pruitt, from doing harm unto others and harm against the world. Empathy can only extend far as you don't make a parking lot graveyard of our home, far as you produce something other than horror and carbon. Tomorrow morning, let you wake with your eyes sewn shut by invasive vines. Let your mind remain a quarantine Superfund site, your spine a weeping pipeline. Let your only inheritance be poison and poison and poison and life, forever life. Let your only curse be survival, as the rest of us are wiped clean from the face of this rented and temporary planet. Might you circle in your chartered planes until jet fuel cackles, until your pockets are stuffed with useless monies, your suit in gallow tatters. Might you bathe for all time in the stank oil lakes. It's laughable. You, the last bipedal mammal gasping forever at our unbreathable air. Cool. Yeah, that guy's bad news. But also, I mean, I know, like, at the root of it, it's not this man who's at the pinnacle of this, like, experiment called capitalism, right? He's just, like, the cutest manifestation of it. I made this book, which is largely about the history of psychoanalysis and queerness and how, like, the language of psychoanalysis pathologized and created queer people, and that's, like, something we're all living in and through today. So I'm going to read some, smart, right? No, I'm just I just figured out how to package it. So I wrote a bunch of poems that are essays and in bits, and so this is also going to have some like audience participation. Cute? Great. So, all right, these are all essays on like antiquated medical diagnoses that don't make sense to me. And so I try to attack it from other angles, and they're written in sections. So whenever I read it out and a section ends, I'll lift my hand and y'all can go, whoop. Sound? Yeah, as not together as possible. That's perfect. Perfect. Okay, this is on trepanation. Logic at its root is a medical instrument. Great. 10% of human skulls recovered from the Stone Age have silver dollar-sized holes bored out of them, the bone removed, the button opened. The tools they must have used to perform this surgery were crude, rock-made, ignoble implements, must have had good reason. The brain swells to twice its size just thinking of it. Surely their logic was a logic of monsters, the way a demon takes up space in the gray matter, builds a haunt shack below the bridge of your nose, and through the bored hole, said demon can be released from its captive inelastic concavity. The homosexual, since his invention, has been a creature held captive in the skull. Simple ritual, touch the back of your head, invent an absence in the solid matter, trace the serrated ridge, imagine what might come sprinting from your head if only you had the acumen to drill a hole in it. Athena was born this way. Phineas Gage is said to have had a metal rod pass through his brain and emerge out the other side a swan. Every instrument of torture is born this way. Every instrument of sound and surgery, every painting and chair and chariot, every ritual and rite of passage, every word and hermeneutic. The skulls of fetuses come soft and in pieces so they can pass easier through their mothers out into the world. The fontanelles harden with age and behold your new adult shape. Perhaps this ancient surgery then is less about monsters and more an argument for the preservation of youth, to break apart the skull so you might pass back through your mother into oblivion. I understood all this smoking cigarette after cigarette on the front porch of a man who gripped my head as if he was trying to dissemble it. How much easier it would have been had he succeeded, smoke rising through the hole in me. After I lay beside him in the position all humans take preparing of sleep, regardless of age or history or what terrible things they've just done with their hands. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to do any more essays. Oh no, time is running out. Thank you. I'll do like a performative experimental dance number. All right, so I newly discovered I like to get choked with a belt when I get fucked. Anyone else? Yeah. My partner's been trying to get me to write a poem about it, but he thinks it's going to be about him and not the belt. And actually, I think in theory, this gives me hope. It's in the same way that like my grandpa newly had mochi ice cream for the first time, and it's like if you could be 85 and still discover something new, you know, maybe we're gonna be okay. This isn't about my grandpa directly. All right, let's see if I can do it by memory. It's called Ode to the Belt. Yeah. The future does not bode well for the living. My man won't let me forget where leather comes from. The engineered animal bent over in chemical grass, slit thing hanged and blood slunk in order to keep a man decent. I know how to keep a man. The belt knows how to keep order. The sound of his unbuckling's Pavlovian. Sidewalk split into drooling meat. He beats me into my evening blush. I clutch pearls, eyes the color of a little red cloak. Bless this bridle wrapped around my throat while he bloods me. Bless the constricted windpipes, unlikely music. Bless anything that can be remade to eke out pleasure from stone. Oh, bless all this life thrashing against death's garish precipice. Oh, bless me, Lord. Bless me, Dorman. Bless me, cormorant and courtship and torture and husbandry. Give me enough compression to remember I once lived here. And I'll accept in the end, not even death will wife me. My grandpa actually does like that poem. In that way, it's connected. I'm going to read one more poem out of the book and then a couple new things, and then we can all have a drink. Good. This one's not fun. My uncle was dying when I was writing this, and I was noticing like how the health of the body and brain are quite linked. And so I wrote this in his hospital room. It's called Hematology. While he lives, here's a list of images. Light in a filthy glass. Pigeon dead on a high-spiked window. Clear plastic bag above him full of water. If water could kill everything that lives in you. And it can. I sit in the corner of the cancer ward fingering the app that shows me other faggots in the hospital. Chat with one I might meet in radiology, but don't. Instead, make the sick man laugh while he's conscious. Compliment his couture gown, his new brutal cheekbone that appeared with the chemo. If only it were as simple as a magnet sucking the bad metals out of him. If only I could make a better list, More magic, less language, paraphrastic and restorative. If only I met that stranger in the basement and our pleasure rose through the hospital. Bliss poultice for the sorrow-skinned who sit half conscious and half machinery. While the sick man lives, all I can do is recount the vast pastoral of his illness. When he's gone, I'm counting on all the good flooding back. His beard, a collapsed country I'll refuge inside. His laugh, a memory so liquid I'll hear it when anyone opens a window to scare the birds. Stop Pruitt. Cracking. Oh, this is fun. So I've been doing a bunch of, did anyone do a 30-30? That's like where you write a poem a day for the month of April. So this is a new one from there. I've only read it out once. There's a bar in New York called The Cock. And I figure we're in like a gay bar, so there's like that coastal conversation. Because obviously the Midwest is the main coast. Yeah, the Lake Coast. Brett, do you know who you are? And so in the bar called The Cock, there's a basement where you can have like sex with strangers and it's like blacked out. And so there's a poem about that. Cool. It's a sonnet. All right. The Cock. You can't spell basement without semen. Or, I suppose you could, but then it would just read bat. Somewhere south on 2nd Avenue, a staircase, you pay $10 to descend onto a dance floor. Though more a dark field of men who've already removed their heads so as to blend into the eternal body, which is always loosening and welcoming fluids. What becomes of the indivisible soul in basements such as this? Here where the spirit is passed around as a yawn or religion. Soul, I say, welcoming someone me yet not into this rented and temporary skin. When an oddly cold erection nuzzles its wet nose into my palm like an elderly dog. In Dante, the three-headed dog guards the gate to the underworld. In this underworld, we guard the gate to the living. Cool. All right, here's another one of those 30-30s. It's just like a little bit of a taste. It's a sampler platter. This one's also not fun. It's called, I've been writing also these poems where like things are trending. Y'all know about Twitter? Okay, so it's like when something of interest is trending, you know what I mean? I write about it. Okay, so this is when Auschwitz was trending. And it's after my friend David Winter. There will be no poetry after Twitter. After poetry, there could be no Auschwitz. After Twitter, no America. The birds make noise in the tree now at Auschwitz. It's green now at Auschwitz. A New York Times poll states X% of Americans on Twitter don't know Auschwitz from poetry. And what would X have to equal for you to burn down a government building? To make a short documentary film, to tweet it. It's Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I eat cake with us descendants of Auschwitz, discussing how memory is multi-directional, celebrity gossip, yesterday's ice raids, the price of eggs. Woo. All right, I think I'm gonna do like 3 more poems. And in between, I'm gonna like sweat more at you. Okay, so this next poem is no, I'm not gonna do that one. That's right. We can talk about it afterwards. Yeah. Okay. So this next poem I wrote at a vigil for the National Endowment for the Arts. It was held at Trump Tower in March, and it was like hecka cold because climate change is every day. And so there was like 12 of us yelling at this building. And so here's this particular poem. To be read aloud at a vigil for the National Endowment for the Arts at Trump Tower on March 15th. There are several theories that attempt to explain the invention of money, and all of them are dipped in blood. The one that makes the most sense is that money was invented as a system for tracking debt, the movement of goods between men. A man gives another man a horse, and in exchange, some kind of paper. Aristotle says every object has two uses, the purpose for which it was originally designed and the value it has when traded. There are several theories that attempt to explain the invention of written language, and the one that makes the most sense to me is tied to debt, is dipped in blood. A man gives another man a horse, and there it is, alive in ink on paper, is a metaphor you can fold and keep in your pocket. I have several theories that attempt to explain the invention of arts grants, and all of them are tied to debt, all tied to the guilt a country inherits facing its history of pillage, tied to facing the impossible horror of your own wealth. A man takes a country, its money, its people, and is expected to be forgiven without giving up shit, and here we are having to exist in the yuck of it, in a world that does not know how to assign a poem its proper horse. I've done all kinds of things for money. Slang coffee, guarded offense, taught scansion. And there was this once I sucked dick for $60. I was trying to get to Houston to read poems in a basement for an even smaller amount of money. A mouth has two functions, the purpose for which it was originally designed and the value it has when traded. Thus, his hips bucked once and suddenly a full tank of gas. My pockets alive with animals, some metaphor for horsepower. I write about this often, how I hoed for poetry. Later, I received a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts for a collection including some writing about sucking that dick, and suddenly the value of my mouth exploded. Hosanna. My currency multiplied, now a government-approved throat. In that same packet, though, an elegy for my dead ex-boyfriend, even though he'd hated me. Still, I made his body alive again on paper. Made it dance for coins, traded his body for sandwiches for rent. I've got a government-approved sadness. I've got a government-approved debt. I've got a government who wants my loved ones filled with bullets, filling prisons. It's sick how money's always disturbing the dead, always making our lives declare their value against the price of oil, but still you have to pay to live. My family had to pay to be smuggled out from the burning charnel house of Russia, and this is how I'm here. A man gives another man a horse who gallops the fuck away. There's an alternative theory of language that suggests it was invented to approach the ineffable, touch God, give shape to what by its nature is priceless. You, alive in my arms again, all my family, blood or otherwise, around the same table, good, clean water. Every poem I have ever written is trying to get closer to the people I have lost and is failing. Thank you. Okay, cracking. All right, so I'm going to do, two more poems. Excellent. Thank you. It's weird because I can't see anybody here. I fear you all have left except three extremely exuberant people. Oh, no way. Oh, hi. That's good. Okay, cracking. I did my first lecture on Facebook Live or Facebook chat. And I was sure I was talking to nobody. And I talked for an hour and a half at a screen. But apparently they were there. Cool story, Sam. Glad you told everyone. Okay. I had come prepared. Yeah, here we are. All right, so I'm going to do two more poems. Oh, okay, this poem scares the shit out of me. Yeah, all right. I'm going to do this one. It's called Etymology. I'm hecka interested in the history of words, right? And I feel like I can often trace back the history of a particular word across languages or borders and then make a little more sense of the world. And this is an attempt to do that with gun violence, and it's about how that fails. All right. In the beginning, there was a beginning. And before that, it had already begun. And before that, a gun. Every story I love begins with violence. Every story ends. A life undone as a button slid through the winged gap in its fabric, little portal opening into light, into a bald chest bared as a fang. The etymology of gun is wonderment from the Dutch. From my uncle's lock cabinet, he shot out over the city of Los Angeles, laughing to impress as I sassed lavish in my black jeans. The etymology of gun, though, is hunger, from the French. From the waistband of a strange man's madness as he traced my outlet down an unlit Louisville street. From the Greek, fired from a passing car through my neighbor's window, entering his brain, refusing to leave. A man enters an Orlando nightclub, breathes. The etymology of gun is police, is greed, is country, from the German, from the sea, from the dead-eyed white Marine who spoke Arabic as he emptied inside me Bismillah, almost gossip outside my barred window, almost the falling sound of metal leaves. From the old country, my mother's hometown where the gun store on the corner is the only business not out of business. From the new country, where a weapon can be shipped to your doorstep next day. The etymology of gun is actually tied to horses. From the Old Norse, a woman's proper name made from the two words for battle. I held a gun only once. My lover begged me to press it against the back of his head as we fucked. His pistol felt so perfect in my hand when I pulled the trigger. My God, the sound it made swallowed me. Click, click, click. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention for this 25 minutes and 38 seconds, which I've been timing. Thank you. Oh. Lovely. Sorry, I'm not used to being talked to, like ever, so this is great. But that said, please talk to me afterwards. I got books to sell, and I would love to sign it and talk with y'all if you're interested. This one... Okay, yeah, this is what I'm gonna close on. So, have y'all ever taken a photo of your genitals and like sent them to another person? Or like, if you have not, have you done that? Do you like know somebody who has? For those who have not, like, change your life. Okay, so I used to be prolific, you know. But now I'm like seeing somebody, so that's less so the case. And so this is more of like a nostalgic poem about the good old days. It's called I Can't Remember the Last Time I Took a Picture of My Asshole. And thanks again. Yeah. So it goes, or so I'm told. Blood thins as age grips you by your scruff and lifts. I was a plunderer once. Was plundered often, made men thunder in my mouth, was digitized, a private eye was circumcised and well lit, the screen a scrim I'd lick. To behold a new man upon the glass was to be held, to be besieged in that private theater was to be seen was to be possessed. Blessed be the lust that comes without touch, that clean, filthy hygiene. How I'd tremble from 3 states away at the mere suggestion of his lips. To photograph your own hole is a feat of the human imagination. Oh, how far our species has come from fashioning axes from rock. What's become of us, I wonder, as I position my lamps? It's been too long since anyone new has looked at me, and my city is in flames. Time again to spread and gape. One aperture opening into another. A hole so wide, the whole awful world spills in. Dear God, I'm ready for my close-up. Cool. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.